Everyone knows Michael Jackson, the performer. Almost no one knows the man who owned over 10,000 books, sketched costume designs that went straight to production, and studied Charlie Chaplin frame by frame inside a private 50-seat cinema. The hobbies he pursued when the music stopped reveal a Michael Jackson most people never knew existed, and it starts with what was on his shelves at Neverland. 10,000 books. That's the number that comes up again and again in court records, interviews, and eyewitness accounts of Michael Jackson's personal library at Neverland Ranch. This was not a handful of coffee table books or a shelf of bestsellers tucked away for show. The collection filled room after room, with shelves stretching from floor to ceiling, every inch packed with volumes that reflected a restless, searching mind. The inventory compiled by the Los Angeles District Attorney's Office in 2005 and echoed by those who knew him best, points to a library that spanned far beyond any single interest. Art history took up entire walls, from classic works like Gombrich's The Story of Art to obscure German monographs from the 1930s. Psychology and philosophy lined another section, with titles by Freud and Jung sharing space with books of Socratic quotes. Poetry and literature were everywhere. First editions of Peter Pan, collections of T.S. Eliot, and well-worn copies of Jonathan Livingston Seagull. Civil rights and Black history formed a core part of the collection too. Biographies of Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr. sat alongside volumes on the Harlem Renaissance and the history of jazz. Even science and astronomy had their place, with astrophysics texts peeking out from between novels and art books. The sheer scale and diversity of these subjects reveal a side of Michael Jackson that rarely surfaced in public. This was not a celebrity's vanity project, but a living, breathing library, one organized to satisfy curiosity, feed imagination, and encourage constant learning. For Jackson, these books were not background decoration. They were a daily companion, a private world as vast and surprising as any stage he ever set foot on. In the quiet hours before the day's chaos, Michael Jackson often started his mornings not with rehearsals, but with a book in hand. Jermaine Jackson, his brother, remembers finding Michael in the library, reading aloud passages from directors like Spielberg and Hitchcock, letting their words set the tone for the day. The library was not just a collection, it was a living part of his routine, a place where ideas were tested and imagination was fed. Books did not gather dust on the shelves. Many bear Michael's pencil marks, questions scribbled in the margins, and underlined sentences that caught his attention. One volume, seized during the 2005 investigation, shows a note in his handwriting connecting Freud's idea of the unconscious to the magic of Neverland. Another, a poetry anthology, is filled with bookmarks and small looping annotations, tiny clues to the thoughts that shaped his creative world. Attorney Bob Sanger once recounted a moment in court when Michael, unprompted, cited the ancient origins of the jury system after consulting a history book from his own shelves. That was not a party trick. It was the result of years spent treating books as both companions and teachers. Even staff at Neverland recalled a system for borrowing books, with Michael encouraging others to read what he loved. For him, reading was never passive. It was a habit woven into daily life, a private ritual that grounded him and fueled the curiosity that would later spill into art, dance, and film. In those quiet moments, surrounded by pages and ideas, Michael Jackson was simply a student, absorbing, questioning, and always searching for something new. Beyond the library's walls, another side of Michael Jackson's private world comes into focus: his fascination with collecting art. Auction catalogs from estate sales list more than 70 drawings attributed to Jackson, alongside works said to be by Andy Warhol, Jean-Michel Basquiat, and Frida Kahlo. Each lot comes with its own story, but the paper trail is far from complete. While some items carry clear documentation, estate inventory numbers, court-mandated sale records, or insurance appraisals, others rest on less certain ground. Several pieces described as Warhol originals, for instance, lack a fully documented chain of ownership, and the Basquiat attributions remain under review by experts. Catalogs often use careful language, such as attributed to, believed to be, or possibly acquired by Jackson. In the world of high-value art, provenance is everything, and gaps in documentation mean that not every claim can be taken at face value. Still, the breadth of works listed, more than 70, spanning sketches, prints, and paintings, shows a collector with wide-ranging taste and genuine interest. The evidence is tangible, but not always conclusive. For every lot number and appraisal, there are still questions about how each piece entered Jackson's orbit. This leaves a portrait of a passionate collector whose holdings are real, but whose legacy as an art owner is still being pieced together. Tucked away from the glare of the stage, Michael Jackson's creativity often started long before the cameras rolled or the costumes were sewn. His sketchbooks, sometimes auctioned off in lots described simply as graphite on paper, from 1992 to 1995, were not just idle doodles, they were blueprints, quietly shaping the look and feel of some of his most iconic moments. Michael Bush, who spent years as Jackson's lead costume designer, remembers receiving sketches that left little to guesswork. For the white fedora and sharply tailored jacket in Smooth Criminal, Bush recounts how Jackson handed him a pencil drawing with every detail mapped out: the angle of the brim, the sweep of the lapel, even the precise fall of the fabric. From there, Bush and his team built the real thing, following the lines as if they were architectural plans. These were not just sketches for the sake of it, they were working documents, a private first draft of the spectacle that millions would later see. The habit of translating ideas from page to performance reveals a mind always in motion, someone who did not just dream in music, but in shapes, textures, and movement. For Jackson, the act of drawing was a way to see the stage before it existed, to test out possibilities in the safety of a sketchbook before bringing them to life under the lights. That process, quiet, methodical, and intensely personal, laid the groundwork for the visual storytelling that defined his videos and live shows. In these pages, the boundary between hobby and artistry blurred, showing just how seriously he took every detail, from the first pencil mark to the final spotlight. Behind the main house at Neverland, a set of double doors opened to one of Michael Jackson's most private sanctuaries, a full-scale, 50-seat cinema. Property records and police inventories list the details: rows of plush seats, a Panasonic projector, shelves lined with more than 300 film reels, and a screen big enough for any Hollywood premiere. This was not a celebrity's playroom. The technical setup included a reel-to-digital converter and a 16mm editing table, the kind you would find in a working studio. Each element pointed to serious intent, a workshop for studying the mechanics of film as much as for enjoying it. The inventory of reels spanned decades, from Golden Age musicals to silent-era classics. Staff accounts and estate documents mention Jackson's repeated screenings of Charlie Chaplin films, especially The Kid. While direct interview transcripts are elusive, biographies and collaborators recall Jackson's fascination with Chaplin's ability to tell a whole story through a single gesture. That influence surfaces in small but unmistakable ways. The iconic arm gesture in Thriller, outstretched, stiff, and oddly playful, was inspired by a Chaplin scene Jackson had studied frame by frame. Production notes from the Thriller shoot confirmed that Jackson requested a low-angle tracking shot to match Chaplin's visual style. The theater became a kind of laboratory, a place to break down camera moves, lighting tricks, and silent grammar of physical storytelling. For Jackson, film study was not about escapism. It was a disciplined practice, another way to translate ideas from the page or from a sketchbook into the living language of music video. In the hush of that private cinema, the seeds of his visual imagination took root, preparing the ground for the introspective writing and poetry that would follow. In 1992, Michael Jackson published a book unlike anything else in his career. Titled Dancing the Dream, it gathered poems, reflections, and short pieces of prose, offering a rare written window into his inner life. The book was not a memoir or a collection of lyrics. Instead, it reads like a series of meditations, each one circling around themes that quietly threaded through his private world: empathy, nature, innocence, and the deep, almost aching need to protect children. Across its pages, Michael's voice is gentle and searching, He writes about the healing power of love and the responsibility to care for the planet. In one piece, he describes watching a deer at dawn, marveling at its grace and vulnerability. In another, he reflects on the loneliness that can come with fame and the comfort he finds in small acts of kindness. The tone is quiet, sometimes almost childlike, filled with wonder and longing. Dancing the Dream stands apart from the spectacle of his public persona. Here, Michael is not the king of pop, but a writer, reaching for meaning, asking readers to see the world through his eyes. The book's publication in 1992 by HarperCollins marked a moment when he chose to share his spiritual side openly, a side shaped by years of reading, observing, and reflecting in solitude. Through these poems and essays, the private threads of his life, curiosity, empathy, and a yearning for connection are laid bare, inviting readers to look beyond the spotlight and find the person who lived quietly behind it. Even now, Michael's shelves and sketches outlast the spotlight. In an era obsessed with celebrity surfaces, his quiet passions remind us genius often grows in private, curious corners. Maybe the real surprise isn't what he did off stage, but how much more there always is to discover. Thanks for watching.